Welcome back down the woods. So today we're going to maybe do a little bit shorter than we usually do, or than I have done in past weeks. We're just going to go over one of the paramitas, specifically virya. So we talked a little bit about how each different realm kind of maybe sort of has a perfection kind of sort of attached to it. This one we're going to be going over virya because it starts right at the top, right? We're starting right at the heavens, right? So the heavens, as you may recall, are chronically indisposed to actually doing anything, right? They're perfect places, right? These were where everything is just great and you have no need to do anything, right? All the food is awesome. All the pillows are luxurious. All the ground is just beautiful gemstones and such and so forth. It's perfect, right? So you don't need to work. How do you combat that, right? Because if you're not making effort, you're not following, the Four Noble Truths, and you're not following specifically the last of them. You're not following right effort as a part of that path. So, how do you combat that? You make the effort, right? So this is the perfection of virya, or energy. Making the effort requires energy. Doing stuff requires energy, right? So the way that I had wanted to look at this and kind of frame it is not so much in terms of like what we would normally do. And for the military audience, we all know that PT is a thing. We all know that physical fitness is a thing. We all know that doing stuff is something we do all the time. But what are we doing specifically to work through moral issues, to work through spiritual issues, to work through ethical issues? What are we doing to advance our spiritual status, to our physical status? Sure, yeah, we go up and do physical fitness all the time, every day. But what are we doing to work up here? What are we doing to work in here? Typically not much, right? So I was reminded of the Bodhisattva from the Vajrayana side of the house, Dhuryodhanavirya, which is a very interesting Bodhisattva, right? So what we're going to be looking at, it comes from the Adamantine Pinnacle Sutra and the Bodhi Sutra. And the reason that I had chosen these is because they show us a very particular kind of action, right? Which we can do, which we should do, which is totally within our wheelhouse, right? Both as Buddhists and as members of the military, that we sometimes tend to overlook, right? So this is something that we can take back with us and say, yeah, why not? So I'm looking specifically for those who have a hard copy of this, and I believe the digital version does exist. It's harder to find, but for those who have a hard copy, we're looking again at the Adamantine Pinnacle Sutra first, and then we'll go back and look at one specific passage from the Bodhi Sutra. Right? So the passage that I'm looking at here, and I don't even have my passage notes. Great. Basically comes down to so the whole thing is a series of, and then this individual or this being manifested and became all of this stuff, and attached to all of the Buddhas, and then it just kind of coalesced back into one thing and became this thing, right? You see this time and time again throughout the sutra, where various bodhisattvas are shown just manifesting lots of stuff and then manifesting back into one thing, right? Spreading out and then coalescing. This one, Dhuryodhanavirya, which you will note, virya is the same virya as the paramita speaks of, right? I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I am going to go through the 2 Udana passages that are in this particular section that talk about this specific Bodhisattva, right? So, and maybe a little bit before and after. From this form of an adamantine suit of armor, there appeared the figures of Tathagatas equal in number to the dust motes of all the world systems, and they performed the play of the supernatural powers of all Buddhas, such as the deeds of their extended rules for the protection of all the Tathagatas, right? Already we have armor, we have protection. Is that not our wheelhouse? It totally is. Then, owing to their invincible energy and the extreme firmness of the Vajrasattva Samadhi, they combined and became one, producing the figure of the great Bodhisattva Dhuryodhanavirya, who settled in the heart of the world-honored one, the Buddha Vairochana, and uttered this Udana. How wonderful! The armor of energy. I am the firm one among the firm. Because of my firmness, I become the adamantine superior body for those without a body. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about a physical suit of armor? Are we talking about somebody becoming like a meat shield? No, we're not. Very clearly, we're not, right? What we are talking about here, the armor of energy. How does that manifest in terms of protecting others, right? So if you have compassion for others, if you are making, if you look out at others and see that they're suffering and they can't defend themselves, they can't help themselves, they're stuck where they are, suffering through whatever maladies they're suffering through, and you have the ability to help, then what you do when you actually help them is you become that armor, that firm, scaffolding that helps them to get where they're going, that helps them to work through these maladies, and helps them out of compassion, that helps them to do stuff, that helps relieve their suffering a little bit. And you don't do that by just sitting there and saying, whatever. You get out there and you say, these people are suffering, I'm going to help them. That is exactly what we are here to do. That is exactly what we are supposed to be doing with our energy. That is us making the right effort. That is us using our energy to protect others. And in doing so, building the perfection, the paramita of energy, virya, right? Dhuryodhanavirya is specifically supposed to be a symbol saying, you go out and do this. Out of compassion, you go out and protect others. You go out and help them. Sorry about that. Right? So going on a little bit further, right? Sorry about that. I lost my place here for a second. Then the world-honored one entered the adamantine samadhi called firmness of all the Tathagatas, and in order to save and protect all realms of sentient beings without exception, and so that they might experience complete well-being and happiness, as well as for the obtaining of the fruit of the accomplishment of the adamantine body of all the Tathagatas. Kind of a wordy passage there, I know. Deal with it. He conferred upon the great Bodhisattva Dhuryodhanavirya the samaya, the vow, the pledge, right, of the paramita of energy of all the Tathagatas in the form of the adamantine armor, placing it in both his hands, whereupon all the Tathagatas consecrated him with an adamantine name, calling him Vajramitra, right, adamantine loving friend, Vajra being the adamantine, and then Mitra being a loving friend, right? Then the Bodhisattva and Mahasattva Vajramitra clothed all the Tathagatas in the adamantine armor and uttered this Udana. This is the supreme armor of loving kindness of all Buddhas, the great protection of firm energy. It is called great loving friend. And I know that I've gone on this topic in the past. For those of you who have been in some of my services, I will go on and on and on about this armor because it's important, because it is so key to what we do in the military, right? Our armor, I mean, yeah, we have to wear armor, right? We wear our body armor, our TV or a plate carrier, whatever, or a Kevlar or a helmet, right? But more important than that, better protection than that, is this supreme armor of loving kindness of all the Buddhas. This, in and of itself, the supreme armor of loving kindness, shows us exactly what that armor is, exactly what it's supposed to be, exactly what the Buddhas mean, right? We protect others by having that loving kindness, by having that compassion, by really being there as that great loving friend, right? That is where we expend our energy. And when we do that, when we are that armor, when we become that armor of loving kindness, when we really practice loving kindness, when that becomes our mode of existence, when that becomes what we do, we are a much better protection for everybody than any plate carrier, any Kevlar, right? Any knee pads, any elbow pads will ever be. When we practice loving kindness, when we practice that loving kindness, when we have that compassion that we set up and we're going to go out and help others, we become that armor for them, for ourselves, for everybody else around us. We become that because we are spending that energy, because we are putting forth the effort to do that thing, to practice that compassion, to be that loving kindness. And when we do that, that is impressive. That is the most special thing that we can do, because we are giving that opportunity to those who don't have any protection to practice. We are making that effort to be that shield, to be that armor for them so they can practice, so that we can practice, so everybody benefits, right? That's how we become that armor. That's what we are supposed to do, right? It's time to go out and practice. Practice this paramita. Practice this perfection of energy. Check in your daily life and see where you can put forth a little bit more compassion to help those around you. And then do it. Put forth the energy. Put forth the effort. Do. I'm gonna leave it there. Dhamma Butsu.